Cambridge Radio. From the Terraces.
Cambridge Radio.
This is From the Terraces on Cambridge Radio. I'm your host, Scott McGeorge. Ben Knight's brilliant goal wasn't enough to take all 3 points. Yesterday at Bromley, the U's arguably the better side. It was a late Victor Adebayo strike that meant the spoils were shared. Point gained or 2 dropped? We'll discuss. Cambridge City progressed in the FA Cup preliminary round with a 2-1 win over AFC Sudbury. However, with the sudden and tragic news that former player Quevin Castro had passed away earlier in the day, it was quite a sombre and sad day for the football world and everyone connected with Cambridge City. We'll be paying a tribute to Quevin later on in the show. We'll be hearing for boss Matt Payne as Histon went down fighting following the 4-3 defeat to Cornard United in the FA Cup. It was a disappointing start to the Cambridge United women's campaign at Grange Road. We'll hear from boss Ethan Scott. If you'd like to get involved in tonight's show with any text or feedback, you can do that on text or WhatsApp on 07919 070490. Alternatively, drop us an email on studio@cambridge.radio. We'll be beginning the show as we usually do, and that's with Cambridge United.
From the Terraces.
Cambridge United.
So it's a very good evening from our Gwyder Street studio. I'm joined this evening by Tim Armitage. How are you doing, Tim?
Yeah, not so bad. And yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So, Tim, it was a very historic day for Bromley yesterday. The Ravens, as they're known, it's the highest level Bromley have played at in their 134-year existence. We had a few issues, supporters, when we visited last April, and seems there was a few teething problems with some of the turnstiles and the eateries yesterday. Supporters having issues again entering the stadium. There was no hot drinks. I know it was a boiling hot day, but some of the women especially like a cup of tea. So, what was your perspective like from the press area?
Well, the bizarre thing is I got a text from my son who I didn't even know was coming to the game. He just happened to be in London with friends, and he was saying, "Are you in the ground yet?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been here a while." And it turns out he was one of the ones stuck outside. The picture showed some very long queues waiting to get in, and I know some people got in. He got in just as the kick-off started, but I think others were there 10-15 minutes late before they were all in. So yeah, it must be frustrating to get all the way there and then not be able to get into the ground, and you can hear what's going on inside. So yeah, I mean, you can't help. Apparently the scanning machine broke down. You can't help it, but you've got to have a plan B, because that's what they seem to lack. They didn't really apparently know what to do, and people were getting more and more frustrated about it. And it just, on a hot day, you don't need to rile people up with not being able to get to watch a football game they paid when it wasn't cheap anyway. And they would have missed what was a really positive front-footed start from the U's. Yeah. They're making starting games a really good habit under Neil Harris. He did it last season, and started the Wigan game brilliantly, and almost sort of took the lead with that Ben Knight strike early on that stung the hands of Shamal George in the Bromley goal there, who was man of the match against Barnsley last week. So he was a busy man. What was your sort of overall thoughts at the end of the game then, Tim? Was it a hard-earned point, or given the domination of the first half and taking the lead, did you feel a tinge of disappointment we didn't come away with
all three?
Yeah, I think we should be the more disappointed of the two. I think we did more than enough to get a bigger lead in the first half. Again, we spurned some chances that we shouldn't have done. They came back in the second half and they made a bit of a game of it, but they were so far out of it in the first half. We should have really been further up, and then it wouldn't have mattered. They get a goal back. So, but as we said just before we came on air, 4 points out of 6 in the opening 2 league games of back in League One. Most people would have. That's the kind of start that we're exactly the kind of start we were looking for. Now, you could argue that we've thrown away 2 points rather than gained 4, but I'd rather be in that position of having 4 on the board than none.
Table looks all right at the moment. We're not looking at that, obviously. It's far
way
too
early for that one. But we have been top twice last week and this week.
Don't say that to Neil. You'll give you a slap on the wrist for looking at that so early. But yeah, you're right. Grand scheme of things, it's been a real positive start. We're still very much a work in progress. Hopefully we'll see some action in the transfer window in the next 10 days or so. We certainly need it now with a couple of walking wounded yesterday and Shane McLaughlin coming off. But I stood and watched the game with Ben Pope. I used to play football with him many years ago, and sort of like-minded football brains I think myself and Ben have got, and we watched the game throughout, and Sarsty's thoughts at the end of the game yesterday in a loud Copper Jacks arena at the end there.
Does it feel like 2 points dropped or a point gained given the circumstances at the end there?
I'd have taken a point before the game, but I think it's 2 points lost after watching that today. Better team by far first half. McLaughlin going off probably killed our shape a little bit, but after taking the lead they didn't really threaten us. 1 shot on target. They play ugly percentage football and look for long throws all the time, and eventually it caught up with us and killed us today.
And losing Shane McLaughlin, who's been very good in pre-season and last week, kind of just disturbed the balance a little bit, didn't it?
Exactly that, and it's a bit of a worry who comes in there now. He does the simple things but the dirty things well. It'd be interesting to see where we go next week without him.
Played some great stuff first half, so plenty of positives to take. Bromley couldn't live with us. Only thing we failed to do was score.
Exactly that. It mirrored last year actually here with Bromley. Dominated first half, second half we weren't quite as good. A lot of chances, we took one, but there were more there to take today. And again, are we going to score enough goals to win games? We really should have done today.
Cheers, Ben.
No problem.
Tim, you're nodding along there and agreeing with Ben. It kind of had an uncanny resemblance to last season's game, which was, of course, only back in April 4 months ago.
Yeah, it did. Except I think their attacking was more relentless in that first game. So I think he was what he said about are we going to score enough goals? That at the moment is the worry. It's not whether we can defend, because I think we've shown that although we can't, we can see games out. In the end, the Wigan one obviously could have been a disaster, but we saw the game out in the end. But I think if we can't score goals, then we have to keep clean sheets, and we did. We kept a lot of clean sheets last season, but we haven't managed to do it in either game so far. But so I think we just need a bit more quality. Well, it's not a bit more quality from different players. I think we just need to make the most of the opportunity. We have to be way more ruthless. And two goals that really both should have gone in. Ben Knight's was one of those ones that on any other day would have gone in the goal, and Isaac Heath was one that should have been in. So we could have been out of sight before they scored. So that's the problem we're going to have. If we can't score, then we're going to struggle a bit.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I get it. It's striking that balance, because, like you said, Tim, quite simply, we're not going to keep the amount of clean sheets we kept last year, and that was what our success was built on, and spreading the goals around. But I like what we've got going forward, and Ben Knight and Heath, and they looked a threat from minute one, and then even when we sort of come off the pace a little bit, we still look really dangerous, as we showed on the counter attack. So
I couldn't agree more. That first half we moved the ball around. We took them to bits, really, and that again, that's the disappointment though, is we played so well. We should have capitalised on what we got there. I mean, it's way too early to start criticising a team. We know that we're expecting more people through the door, but I think at the moment the positives definitely outweigh anything else we can be upset about, because looking at that side, they look, when they're playing well, they look a really, really good side. Certainly a match for, you know, teams in League One, and we thought we were going to struggle. So I think, you know, that's the positives out of it. Yeah, could we score more goals? Hopefully we will. The fact that Appare's already scored, the fact that Isaac Heath has scored, Kel Watts gets one in 3 minutes. Ben, you know, it's all out. That Ben Knight goal, I mean, it looked absolutely amazing when I watched it live. Have you seen the replay of it?
Yeah.
That pass and that one touch is just that is a goal of the season contender. That is.
It'll be up there. It'll be up there, Tim. So yeah, I think we've got enough. Yes, of course we can add. We're hoping to see Gassan this week, I think.
Yep.
He's a fit lad. Sometimes, you know, he lives in the gym, and just want to make sure he's fit and not overdoing it. I think Neil sort of gently suggested that earlier in the week, but Gassan is a class player. If you can roll him out there, and he'll offer us a little bit more of an aerial threat. But you know, we sort of criticised a little bit of the off-field stuff with Bromley, Tim, but I must say the surface was in immaculate condition, given the sort of challenging conditions we've had over the summer, and made for a beautiful surface in front of 4,933 and 805 Hughes fans sort of behind the goal and in that corner. So the setting was pretty nice, wasn't it?
And it's great, you know. We've had a record for an opening game of the season at home when people are still on holiday. To get 7,500 through the gates is just stunning. And I think we were talking about this last week. I think it's going to be very difficult for casual observers to come in and get tickets for home games this year, because you know, if you can almost sell out your first game, you know, you're guaranteed to get some really good attendances as long as the product on the pitch stays okay. And then, you know, we always travel in great numbers. You know, I think percentage-wise, we're one of the better clubs for away followings. Long may it continue. It's always really good to go to grounds and be able to outsing the local fans.
Totally agree. It was a good atmosphere there yesterday. It was a little bit of banter, obviously, between the two sets of supporters. Most of it was in good spirit, and like I said, it was a gorgeous day, wasn't it? A perfect day for football. As I said, the surface was top
it was
draw.
A great pitch.
Top draw.
Yeah.
You touched on it with Neil afterwards, like regarding the support. We'll hear that before we go on to some match action.
Neil, 7,500 fans filled the Abbey, almost a sellout, and again a good travelling contingent here, as many as we can get. It starts off as it finished last year, really.
Yeah, I think that's important for us, in it, keeping people engaged. It's great, like for two clubs. I know this football club very well as well, Bromley, and you know, delighted that both sets of fans, both football clubs, get the support that they've had here today, and that we've also had here today. You know, it's great. Shows what progression is for football clubs. You know, how much we've progressed in 15 months, how much Bromley's progressed in 5 years. You know, it's excellent, and the fans, you know, we need them. You know, I talked openly in my programme notes last week about the importance of the Abbey and the travelling fans, and you know, the only way to keep them engaged is by playing well, giving them something they want to watch, and gaining points on the road. And so again, it's the first one. It's not a million miles today, but you know, it's great that we set out an away end in the first game, and ultimately, like I said, I wasn't surprised last week. We've had the record opening day attendance because of how well we played in the second half of last season, and we never take it for granted, but when we play well and we're building, then I do expect people to come and support us, and you know, we look forward to whoever comes on Tuesday for a free hit in the cup, but then we really look forward to next Saturday against Huddersfield, which I'm sure they'll sell out their allocation, and we need that support, and it'd be great to have a sold out Club Dar Abbey next Saturday.
And the fans made it key that they wanted to see a good start, and as you say, unbeaten in the league and a cup win as well. It's exactly what they wanted, and hopefully carries us forward.
I think fans want to win every game, don't they? So it's my job to separate what's reality and what fans expect. So as a football fan myself, you know, I was hugely disappointed at the World Cup with the way it ended for us. So I understand fans that want demand and expect and what reality is or not. I think our fans are exceptional at understanding what reality is for us this year, and I think they should be absolutely delighted with 4 points in 2 games.
Cheers.
Yeah, super support from the Amber Army yesterday at Bromley. It's a long old trip for the next away game, Bradford, on a Tuesday night, but I'm sure they'll turn out on their numbers again. So, Tim, there was one change from Wigan there with Pelly Ruddock coming in for Zach Bradshaw. It looked like a very, very fluid 4-2-3-1 with Pelly playing in a more advanced role, which is, we spoke about it last season. I quite like him further forward. I think at times, I don't want to be too harsh, he can be a little bit liability and he's a bit of careless with the football. So marauding forward is much. I like to see Pelly in that role. Yeah, preferably.
I think he had a good game, certainly in the first half, and I think with the way we know that they're going to put the ball in high and over the top and set pieces and everything else, as Neil said in his post-match, it was an obvious choice. Everybody expected him to start him, and he did. And I thought he had a good game. So I know I've often not criticised him, but I've often said, I don't know whether I've seen enough to say he was a great signing. But yesterday, I thought, he did well, and it goes down as one of his better games. And I think if he can fulfil a role, then more power to him. I think I'd just like to see him score more because he never quite gets there. But if other people are going to do it, I'm less bothered about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. He scored a few bangers for Luton, and we're yet to see one for Cambridge. He's chipped in with a few, and he's got that in him. He's either hitting one in Rose Head literally, or top corner. But sometimes he almost looks like a raw young player, and then you do see his experience, and a lot of his good work is unseen. But yeah, I think Shane McLaughlin and Dominic Ball. I thought Dominic Ball had a really good game yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a captain's performance. I thought he led by example. We alluded to when he had his knee operation last year and he started having the continuity of games. He really showed his true form, and I thought he was very good yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was a captain's game yesterday, and he played there. And the Bromley TV were chatting about him as well in glowing terms. In fact, they were complimenting a lot of players. Isaac Heath, Ben Knight. There were a lot of people getting compliments in the first half because they couldn't really do much else other than give us those compliments, because we really just stopped Bromley in their tracks. They really did. They had nothing. I don't think Eastwood ended up really having to do much in the way of saving anything in the first half. So
don't think they had any touches in our box, Tim. I think that was official. They didn't have any touches in our box.
It was certainly. They certainly were really kept quiet, and then you knew it was going to change in the second half. That's what happened last time, except we didn't quite dominate as much in the game last season for this year. So I think all in all, disappointment that we didn't get all 3 points, relief that we got 1 point, and we well deserved it. And I think there is plenty to be excited about. 2 games in, you wouldn't expect all the problems to be solved. I think the obvious problem we've got at the moment is we're looking light. It's a small squad, and I don't know whether we can field a full team plus substitutes for Tuesday's game at the moment. It's going to be touch and go.
We did say that before in the green room, didn't we? I think Neil might be asking some of the parents of the youth players, can they stay up a bit late on Tuesday night, because we might need them on the bench.
Neil should put his boots on.
Wouldn't mind seeing that, rolling back the years. Yeah. What a player he was in his prime, Neil, for sure. But we got a lot of joy in that first half, and Bromley looked all at sea.
Absolutely.
Liam Bennett was getting bags of room and space, and linking up with Ben Knight. I spoke to Liam in Thursday's presser about what a good synergy himself and Ben Knight have on that right hand side. Liam quite likes going on the outside, Ben cuts in on his left foot, and it strikes a perfect balance. And Jacob Mendy, who was signed from that team, blue team up the A1 there, he had a bit of a torrid first half, and he was duly hooked at half time. But you can see the shape and the system. I had a little look at training in Spain there, and how Neil walks them through the shape. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and Neil was 1-2-3-0 up on Andy Woodman in that first half because the system worked to a T, and we just exploited them down either side, Callum Perry and Heath also.
Yeah, and I say that's the only frustration I have, is we were so dominant. We should have put that game to bed. We didn't, and as a result, when they changed shape to counter what we're doing, they suddenly started to play a little bit better, and then the goal comes in, and then they started to play quite a lot better. So it's good that we've been able to make the transition from League 2 to League 1 and the style of football that Neil wants to play, and I think it's working well when we get it right. But yeah, as I say, I mean, you can be negative if you really want to be, and of course the forums have been negative at times in between the first and the second game, so that's just the way it goes. But I think overall, as a long time fan, I'm pleased at where we are 2 games into the league. I know it's way too early to start looking at it, but we've got another good week coming up. We've got a Millwall game on Tuesday, and we've got Huddersfield at the weekend. Two games where the Millwall game, it's kind of a throwaway. We've got nothing to lose by going for it, apart from players, which is what we seem to be doing a lot of. But there you go. And then Huddersfield again, another difficult game that's going to be. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. That's what I say, especially at the Abbey. But yeah, no, I enjoyed watching us play. Like I said earlier, I love the way we're starting games on the front foot, aggressive. And if you start sloppy, sometimes you stay sloppy. So starting a game is important. And we nearly took the lead after 4 minutes, and I like the way Ben shot on sight there, because we know he's got quick feet. He jinks his way into the box, but as soon as that lit up and the ball pinged back to him, he had one thing on his mind, and he hit it hard and low, and a good save by George, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good save, yeah.
So yeah, it was really positive start from United. 70% possession, as we touched on, and I thought Shane McLaughlin again was key to that dominant ball. We just ticked the ball over. We just looked really comfortable, and Bromley just had no answer to us, and that was the main chance. I think Liam Bennett hit one when he cut in on his left foot. We sort of mustered up some good positions, but it was just that final ball, Tim, where it was the cross or the through ball where we couldn't make a clear opening. We saw Isaac Heath. He had a really good opportunity just before half time where Jake Eastwood often overhits the ball, but this was perfect actually. Route one, and the way Heath took it all in one movement, brought it down, a bit like the night goal, and it was just George's outstretched right arm that saved it. And like I say, we would have been great value for a really good value to be in front, wouldn't we? Yeah,
and any other game, one of those 2 opportunities would have gone in. We'd have been 2 up, and I think that would have been a very different second half then. So, you can't. Again, it is what it is. They get the goal back, and we end up drawing. But I don't think we shouldn't be hanging our head in any way, shape, or form. And Neil said that. No,
and it was a blow to lose Shane. I spoke to Neil post game after the Wigan game, and I thought he's particularly good. He's looked great. He's been good in pre-season, trained every day, as Neil touched on, and it was a blow to lose him to injury just on half time. Here's Neil on the Shane McLaughlin injury.
He started each game so far and played very, very well. And I talked about how instrumental he is, how he goes under the radar with his ability to understand the game, and the way he plays the game is so important to us. That we was looking to sign another midfield player anyway, and now it's just an absolute must before next weekend.
Yeah, we knew it was bad because he literally went down. It was straight away. He didn't think about it. It wasn't one of these fakes. He just went down, and then the anguish in his face was visible for all to see, even if you weren't facing him, because you could see his head in his hands and him gesticulating. You knew it wasn't going to be good news. So hopefully it turns out not to be as serious as potentially it could have been. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we don't want to see weeks. We want to see.
It's the other calf though this time round, which might mean hopefully it's not going to be both of his calves are now going to cause him problems. Hopefully this is just one of those things, and it's a short
superficial one. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a message in before we go on to the second half action there. Hi Scott. Well, I'd have taken a point at the start of the game, and 4 points from 2 games is a solid start. Think Bromley and United will be fine this season. Going to Bromley will be tough for all teams this season. Worried about the lack of signings. Maybe the number 8 that's free could be an ex-player coming coming back after 9 years. Great show, Jim in March. I wonder who you're on about, Jim.
So how old is Luke Berry?
34, I think. Same age as my brother.
People were saying, but he's got loads in him. He's only late 20s. And I'm going, no, he's not. He's mid-30s. It's just we've forgotten all about that intervening time. That's the problem. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that'll work at all.
No, I think we probably do need young legs in there. We've got Ball, Pelly, Shane Max, quite experienced, and maybe a younger version that can get up and down box to box.
I think if he was as good as Wes Houlihan, then there might be a temptation to bring him back at 34, but I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. No,
he was a bit of a one-off, wasn't he, old Wes? But like Jim said, let's hope to see some movement and action. Neil's a great manager. I'm sure Bonds and Paul Barry and Mark Green are over at the minute. They've been going to the games, and they'll know he needs a little bit of support. I know it's bonkers, but we do need some signings, quite simply. Otherwise, we're just going to be far too thin. Second half, half time come for a good time for Bromley, Tim. They could get in, regroup. Andy Woodman shuffled the pack. He hooked Ben Thompson, who was poor in the middle of the park, former player of Neil Harris's at Millwall there, and Jacob Mendy, who had a bit of a shocker, as mentioned. They regrouped, and I said to Ben Pope there, I said, we haven't taken advantage. We don't get performance points here. It is 0-0, and Bromley simply can't be as tame in the second period. It was a lot more even second half, wasn't it?
It was, and I think we were a bit slow to pick up on the change. We did eventually, but we were a bit slow. They got their bit between the teeth, which they hadn't done in any piece of that first half. I think they were completely out of it for most of that first half, and it is what it is. So I think it's what you expect from Bromley. They're going to put the ball over. They're going to be good on set pieces, whether you've dominated the game or not. They're always going to find opportunities, and that's what happened. And I think we've said it over and over again. Got to make more of those chances.
Yeah, and they didn't trouble Jake Eastwood. No. They came into the game more, brought JJ McKinnon on, didn't they? The sort of legs in the middle there, and I think it was Headland, wasn't it? So they made the double change, made him look a little bit better and a little bit sterner, but they still, Hughes still looked fairly comfortable, and we didn't offer too much threat. There was a chance down the left there. I think Heath got it across, and it was fumbled about on the line, and Apre looked like he was going to nod it in, and they cleared it away. But it was the Hughes that deservedly sort of took the lead, Tim, on 67 minutes, and it was from one of them deadly counter-attacks. That's something we've got in our armoury this season. We saw it, in essence last week against Wigan, and SK again, another player that can be a little bit erratic at times, like hit the ball over from a free kick or hit it in the top corner, but he received the ball on the counter there, and his vision and what I like to call the swaz on the ball to Ben Knight picked his run out, and Ben is just, he's just wonderful to watch in flow, in movement there. The way he takes the ball under control whilst moving is a difficult skill that he simply makes easy. I mean, he was behind Carl and Grant there, and I think Grant felt comfortable, but as soon as he took that ball, with his left foot, I think it was 4 touches and it was at the back of the net.
I mean, that, as I say, it'll be a contender for one of my contenders, a goal of the season. Looking back at the replay, as I say, it looked good in the ground, but looked even better later on. And I think that first touch is just something you can't teach people like that. They can get close, they can try and figure out how to do it, but it was so smooth. There was no stutter in it at all. He stopped, moved, and as you say, 4 touches later, it's in the back of the net, and that's the skill we want. We just want more of it.
And he's got to be more clinical this season, Ben. We picked at that a little bit. If you looked at a small critique, there's a few chances missed. I seem to remember Swindon at home in that crucial game. There's a few there, and Neil will want him just to tidy that up this season at the level above and say, well, come on, raise your game, hit your numbers, as he keeps saying, and he won't do himself no harm there, because again, they're easy missed, or he could hit it at the keeper, but it was emphatic. Once he was away, you thought, well, he's slotting this in, and he done so.
And that was it. We said, I mean, the other 2 chances were saved, but of the 3 chances that we'd had to that stage, the one that you didn't think would go in, that would come to anything, was that one, and definitely the hardest one to score, and we managed that. And I think we all know, we've talked about this over and over again, that's been the problem the last season. I mean, how much of a problem when you get promoted is it? But going up, it will be more of a problem if we can't find that extra little bit from the strikers and the attacking midfielders to make those chances count.
You have to take one or two of them. The chances won't be so much of a premium because you're playing better teams against better defenders. But exciting side to watch United. You know, Heath, like we said earlier in the first half, Isaac Heath had that one. He almost took it down in similar fashion. So two class players, fan-friendly players in Isaac Heath and Ben Knight.
We had the love-in last week for him, and I'm sure we're going to have many of those.
We did.
Season.
He was he was bright again yesterday, and just a joy to watch. It's nice, it's nice seeing them players, and we have got a good unit. We need to add to it, as we've said there. So big Pat Bauer come on after 73. Looked a good decision to bring him on, given the throw-ins became a little bit more regular. The corners did, and again, although we looked fairly comfortable, you're a throw-in away or a corner away from succumbing to the pressure which happened. But big Pat was a good call, wasn't it?
It was definitely, and I think you're right. And this is why everybody wrote off Bromley, forgetting that they won the league. They won the league last year, and they may, as they showed in the first half, they may not have the same attacking talent as some teams, but the ball over the top and the set pieces are always a threat. And all you've got to do is to get 2 or 3 of those and put one in, and as long as you don't go mental about it, they'll win games, they'll draw games. I think they'll be safe. I don't think there's any chance of them going back down. I think they'll do all right, Tim, and they'll of course lean on that home form, and I think they've done some all right business there. Big Victor, who scored, we had him on loan in 2020. He took the goal brilliantly. He scored up at Barnsley last weekend. Ethan Archer, on loan from Luton, a tricky player, was well involved. He was switched with Mitch Pinnock, and I like them players. I wouldn't sort of say no to them if they were in an amber shirt, to be honest with you. And it was just one of them. I mean, it was 81 minutes where Big Victor Adebayo recycled what was a long throw in, and I just put it down to a really good finish, Tim. I've watched it back today. Kells sort of headed it down. We won a lot of first contacts. Don Ball's gone to chase it down and press. He's done everything right, but I just think on this occasion you have to give Big Victor all the credit in the world for the way he sort of handled the ball there and smashed it into the top corner. It was just about the only place he could put it, with a couple of players on the line and Jake Eastwood to beat. It was a super strike, and sometimes you just have to hold your hands up. And that's the thing, is you can't fault that finish. You can only fault getting into that position where we didn't really we caught the first ball in, and then we didn't really close down that secondary play, and I think that was the problem. But in the end, you can't fault the finish. And
at that point, they've got the momentum. Their tails are up. Their crowd are noisy, and you think, well, actually, let's get out of here with a point, take a point, because, how bad would we have felt if they'd have nicked one late, and that would have been typical Bromley style. They've done it so many times last season. Relieved to see the game out. Evidently, there was 5 minutes of additional time, Tim, but Kirsty Dell seemed to blow up a little bit early as Cambridge United had an attacking throw. She had again, don't want to go on too much, but she had a strange game, did Kirsty?
She did, but it was a really weird one, because the clock was wrong in the first half. So I don't know. I actually put a stopwatch on it for the second half, and I reckon that throw-in was awarded 35 seconds before the 5 minutes was up. And normally, it's minimum of 5 minutes. You'd always expect to play a little bit more, 5:15, 5:30, to finish the game when we were suddenly in an attacking position for half a minute early. Okay, it's perhaps being a little petty, but it just was weird. You just think, I've never seen that. You don't often see referees blowing up before the amount of time that they've added. It's not like someone else has done it. She decided how much was going to be added, and then she didn't appear to play that. So
no, definitely seemed premature.
Yeah.
I didn't think she had a great game. Just being honest.
Did it make a difference? Probably not, but you never know. 30 seconds is when we're on the attack like we were just about to be.
There's lots
could have been that goal.
Lots of boos ringing round. We're going to have Matt Lockwood on the phone join us in a minute. We'll just get Neil's assessment of the game.
I think we played really well, and I thought first half we played exceptionally well, and I thought we moved the ball really well. I thought we looked a very good side. We looked completely dominant and in control. We got into really good areas, made some good chances. Didn't have the ruthlessness or maybe the quality in certain moments that we got to build into. But ultimately, we played extremely well, and I don't think they had an effort on our goal in the first half. Second half, fair play to Andy, changed their shape, changed the system, and got more pressure on us and made it more difficult for us to build. And we had to grow into the second half, and we do it with a little bit of quality when we change shape, but then also by just excellent play on the counter attack. And then when you get yourselves in front of the game like that, you know what's coming. You know the Alamo's coming. You know they're going to get bigger and stronger, and the throw's going to come in longer, and then there's going to be more balls going in your box. And I thought we dealt with it exceptionally well for so long of the game. Just that one moment, and that's a disappointment. That's where we're still short and learning the game with a lot of young players on the pitch, because we deal with the first moment, the long throw comes in, we clear it, we don't get out tight enough to the second ball, we don't get out we don't get out our box quick enough, and when we don't deal with the second phase, and that's our last point of learning, is those final moments. So disappointing to concede in that moment, but ultimately it's a strong point, and we have to accept that we've just got a point away from home in our first game back in League One against a team that finished 5 points above us last season. So ultimately I'm happy with 4 points in 2 games.
That's Neil Harris's assessment following the draw away at Bromley yesterday. Hoping joining us on the line is Matt Lockwood. How are you doing, Matt?
Not too bad, Scott, and yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to see you yesterday. We were going to have a catch-up post-game, but we both scurried off to our transport and paths didn't cross, unfortunately. But what was your sort of overriding emotion and feeling walking out of the Copper Jacks Community Stadium yesterday, Matt?
Yeah, well, I think you both echoed the same sentiments as me. Pleased with the point. We spoke before the game, didn't we? And we said if you gave us a point, we'd take it straight away. And so pleased with it. I thought we played really, really well. I have to say, especially in the first half, it was just a lack of cutting edge. Really, that didn't have a sort of two, maybe even 3 goals up deservedly, and then. As Neil's alluded to in his interview, that they changed their shape, we get the goal on the counter, and it's a really good finish and a really good ball by Suri Kai. But, they get bigger and stronger, don't they? And, it's a shame that we couldn't hold on, but like you said, Scott, it's a quality finish from Victor Adebayo, and you just wish he'd have done that type of thing when he was on loan with us all those years ago. But not too disappointed, but sometimes there's always that feeling that we've dropped 2 points, and maybe there's that little thing there that maybe we should have walked away with 3. But it's a good point at the end of the day.
Yeah, it always does sting when you've taken the lead. You start smelling victory, and 81 minutes, not too much left time-wise, and you feel a little bit aggrieved. And like you said, Matt, we played so well in that first half, and it was total dominance and total football, to be honest with you. But a big week lies ahead, doesn't it? We've got Millwall coming down. They won't take the Carabao overly seriously. They had a great win yesterday at home to Norwich, but they'll play a lot of their fringe players. I don't think we've got too many fringe players, as Tim said earlier, but it's the Millwall game Tuesday, which will be fun. I think they're bringing a big travelling contingent, and then the main one is Huddersfield. As I said earlier, let's bring these games on at the Abbey and come and try and beat us if you can.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the key thing, isn't it? We're going to write off Tuesday. I don't think we have a choice, as you both said. We haven't got barely any players that we can really have a bit of a go at it. The squad depth is just not quite there right now. So it's just a case of some of the fringe players, and maybe some of the youth team will get a run up Tuesday. But it's Saturday's game that we've got to focus on. Let's give some of these key players a bit of a rest. and focus on Saturday, because what Neil's always spoke about is your home form. Your home form is the most important, especially in this league. And we've seen probably worse teams than us, and we are a good team, stay up because they're very, very good at home and they do a job at home. So it's going to be an important game again Saturday against a really tough Huddersfield side.
Exactly, Matt, and a big week, with a transfer window close date looming now, and last signing was Gab Breeze, wasn't it? But outfield player was Callum Perry before Spain. So especially with Shane Mack going down yesterday, the cause for concern is growing now with numbers, and we need to get some quality in. It's not just bodies. I get a bit. I use that saying sometimes, but we need some quality reinforcements in that can impact the squad, don't we? Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's now gone out from probably one midfielder to two, which getting two good quality midfielders in, as we know, is really, really tough. Still think maybe we need a defensive reinforcement, and if we can push it, maybe just a winger, with just some sort of winger that can go in there, a young winger from a Premier League side. So, but it's got to be the right fit. The reason why we're doing so well, and the reason why we look so good at the moment, is because we want the characters. We want people that are going to fit into our squad. We've kept a lot of them together. Because they've got the characteristics that Neil wants, and if they don't fit into that squad, they won't come and join this football club. Not in a bad way, as you say. We can't afford just bodies. It's got to be good quality bodies that are going to make a big difference. And in fairness, in the first two games, the difference is even though we've won one and drawn one, if we'd have had just that little bit extra quality, it could have made a lot difference and been a lot more comfortable in both games.
Yeah, very, very true, Matt. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Matt, and we'll catch up again soon, mate. Take care.
No problem, guys. Take care. All the best.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
Cheers.
That's the huge chat done. We're going to move on swiftly because we've got plenty to cover tonight. Next up, we'll be talking Cambridge City.
From the Terraces.
Cambridge City.
So really, really, really tough one for Cambridge City. They were at home to AFC Sudbury in the FA Cup prelims yesterday. It was goals from Freddie Hockey and Charlie Royal. We're going to play an interview with goal scorer Freddie Hockey in a moment. After that, we'll be paying tribute, as I said earlier at the top of the show, to Quevin Castro, who was with City last season and sadly lost his life in Portugal playing football yesterday. We've got some tributes from Mickey Spillane, Captain Jaden Randall, and a few tributes from supporters. Very, very sad news. I sort of spoke to Kevin last season following the game at Tilbury there, and just absolutely tragic. Here's Jamie Mann as he caught up with goal scorer Freddie Hockey yesterday.
Freddie, well done on a great performance, man in the match. What did you make of that game?
First half, it was a bit of a basketball game really, but we went in 1-0. It wasn't the end of the world. We wasn't losing, wasn't obviously winning like we wanted to, but then second half, I feel like we came out on the front foot, like what the gaffer told us to do at half time, and then got the goal, and then kind of just saw it out from there. I thought we were pretty solid defensively, apart from a set piece. But yeah, into the next round.
And I think I'm right in saying that's 2 goals and 3 for you, 2 in the FA Cup. And also to Charlie as well, Charlie Royal, he's got 3 goals and 3. Yeah. You're striking up quite a good partnership, aren't you two?
Yeah, I mean, I got the assist for his goal today. With 3 games in, that's what we need to do going forward if we want to push for maybe potentially the league, if not playoffs, and then hopefully a good run in the cup. We need not only me, but the other forwards, even attackers, defenders, midfielders, we all need to chip in with goals and assists. There's going to be a lot of good teams this season, and it's just a team game. It's not me, it's not just Charlie, it's not just everyone. Everyone's got to chip in with goals. So yeah, I mean, it's a good start. Hopefully just push on.
How important are those relationships on the pitch?
It's very important, especially where I play out wide. It's important to know the fullback, what your plans behind you, the striker, whether it be Fletch or Charles, just knowing where players would be in the positions, or whether overlapping or cutting it back. I feel like it's a fairly new group, a lot of new players, especially from last year, so we're still in that sort of transition period where we're getting used to everyone, but that's quickly going to come, especially when we're winning games. So Yeah, I mean, good result today. Hopefully we keep pushing on.
Busy week ahead. You've got another game on Tuesday, then Saturday, and then another on the following Monday. I think that's against Sudbury as well, away. So what have you learnt today that you can bring into that league game against Sudbury?
I think just confidence, really. We've obviously beat them in the FA Cup, who obviously came down from a league above last year. So, yeah, I think confidence is the main one. Knowing a bit of belief at knowing we can do it in the league again. And yeah, just hopefully we do it again in the league.
How do you prepare for those busy weeks?
Recovery is the main thing. Recovery is definitely the main thing, especially playing. I only played 70 minutes today. I came off with a slight injury, but it's all fine. But especially the boys who played 90, recovery tomorrow, recovery Monday, and then we go again Tuesday. We've got a game Tuesday, Walthamstow. So that's the main thing. And then, yeah, I mean, nothing really changes because obviously we'd have had training Tuesday anyway, so nothing changes.
That was goal scorer Freddie Hockey there. A brilliant footballer is Freddie. 407 there at the Forward IP Community Stadium. And yeah, as the news filtered through yesterday, Quevin Castro had sadly collapsed and passed away in Portugal yesterday playing football, incidentally. Quevin Castro played for Cambridge City for about 5 months, joining the club in October 2025 and leaving in March 2026. During his short time with the Lily Whites, he made 18 appearances for the team. Really sad news, Tim, to lose someone so young. Of course, Kevin's birthday was only last Sunday, and just really sad news for football. First and foremost, we saw West Brom, where he was a product of their academy, with a minute's applause today during their game, and of course everyone connected with Cambridge City.
Yeah, I mean, a tragedy like this is felt across the footballing community. It doesn't matter who you support, to have someone die so young in such circumstances. It's not unfortunately, it's not the first time we've seen it. People, find out they've got heart disease sometimes after the fact, or their families do, and that's the awful thing about it is, you don't necessarily get any warning about it. Suddenly it happens, and that's the end of it. Whatever age you are, that's tragic. But at 25 in peak fitness, I think you're guessing with footballers, it's just awful. Yeah,
he looked in fantastic shape. Talented player. Like I said, West Brom and York City. There was a number of clubs he played for, Quevin, and he had that sprinkling of stardust, and it was tough for everyone at City. You could see Mickey yesterday in his interview. We caught up with him yesterday just to get a few words on Kevin's passing and how they sort of dealt with it in game, which must have been so tough for them.
I think football's taken a bit of a backseat today in terms of the news we've heard, the tragic news we've heard about Quevin Castro. He gave us some fantastic moments last year at this football club, and he's just a superb human being that was always smiling. So to hear that news really does put football on the backseat. Our thoughts and condolences from players, staff, and I'm sure the club are with his family and friends. He was a great lad. I mean, what you saw on the pitch in terms of he was an eccentric player that had bundles and bundles of ability, and we saw that when he was here. And off the pitch, he was just a great lad, always smiling. All the boys loved him. So yeah, it's real sad news.
Yeah, I actually watched back the game where I sort of selected him as my man of the match, and it was Tilbury at home last November. I watched the highlights back today, and his tricky skills on the left there. He put a pinpoint cross in for Usman Ozzy, as they called him, to header in, and then drew a Tilbury defender in that tripped him and fouled him. George Smith dispatched the penalty, and yeah, I asked to speak to him after, and he was great. Kev had that big smile, and just great to watch such a talent like that, and just so sad. And Jayden Randall's a big part of Cambridge City. He's a Clacton lad, but he's fell in love with City. He's a proper person, proper captain, and I asked him for his thoughts on the sad loss, given that he was captain last season and had Quevin in the same changing room as the rest of the boys.
Where do I start? He was a great lad, had a great future in front of him, had a great career, and tragically it got cut short doing something he loved. It's hit us hard, we won't lie, but as a group we're going to stick together just for him. And like I say, he had a great career He had, you could see his individual brilliance from Lowestoft, what he brought to the changing room. It'd be a massive miss, and we were gutted. Sometimes it's harder than football, and people don't realise, especially when you're in and around it, that how close you are together, like brothers. So yeah, it's hard, but he's a great lad, and we wish Kevin's family all the best, and everyone at the club. If there is anything anyone needs, my phone's always open. But we just want to celebrate Kevin's life now, and hopefully go and get a promotion for him and dedicate every game to him. But everyone that knew Kev knew he was an unbelievable person, and also an unbelievable football player. But yeah, so it's hard, but God rest his soul. And if anyone needs anything, you know where I am.
I know Jaden listens in, so thanks, mate. You're a top guy, and Cambridge City are lucky to have you. Also ask for some sort of fan reaction and memories of Kevin as he dazzled in that black and white shirt last season. Michelle Hume says, this devastating news has understandably shook everyone at the club and many others who'd had the pleasure to see him play the game he loved. Obviously, super strike at Lowestoft was the outstanding highlight and easily my favourite game of last season. I might have wet myself during the celebrations. Such a friendly guy who was always happy to chat to me at the bar and after games. You could just see how much football meant to him. I have tears in my eyes writing this, as he was just so young and had the world at his feet. Rest in peace, Kevin Castro. You'll always be part of the Cambridge City family. Sending heartfelt love and prayers to his nearest and dearest. Also, Dan Barnes. Kevin scored 2 of the most memorable goals for us last season. On debut, he came on in the second half at Waltham Abbey. City had trailed 1-0 at the break, but he popped up with a winner, kissing the badge to seal a deserved turnaround victory and possibly our most impressive win that season. The other goal that nobody is likely to forget is the equaliser at Lowestoft on a dark, cold and rain-drenched November evening. Again, City were down at the break. This time the deficit was 2-0. City had begun to dominate and had pulled one back already. Then with 5 minutes to go, Kev picked up the ball in midfield, stepped his opponent to the side and let fly from 35 yards. The ball flew into the top bins to trigger crazy celebrations. One of the finest individual goals I've seen in the flesh. City then found a winner deep into injury time to seal the perfect comeback. He was a precocious talent, and you could see why our management was so keen to bring him to the club. A lovely and gifted man with the world at his feet. The news yesterday truly shocked everyone. He's gone to grace the big football pitch in the sky, and we'll never forget him. Also, Amber, who does a bit of photography there, she sent a message in, which was really, really kind of her. She just said that Kev genuinely cared about football. He brought people together, always had everyone's best interest at heart. The news just been a shock and heartbreaking, and struggling to understand how someone so young with so much life ahead of him could be gone. His kindness and passion and unforgettable connection with the fans will never be forgotten. He may well have left the pitch far too soon, but the impact he made on everyone who knew him, supported him or simply watched him play will live on forever. Rest in peace, Kev, mate. That was tough. But next up, we'll be talking Histon.
From the Terraces.
Histon.
So unfortunately, Histon bailed out of the FA Cup, having knocked out Brightlingsea in the previous round. It ended up 4-3. Cornard United were the visitors to the Camtech and Capri Stadium at Bridge Road, 181 in attendance. The Stoots went 1-0 down. Ryan Sharman equalised. Cornard got 2 before half-time. It was 3-1 to Cornard. It went 4-1 second half. Goals from Francisco and Dan Brown pulled it back for Histon. Cornard reduced to 7-10 men with 7 minutes to go. Here's the thoughts of Histon manager Matt Payne.
So Matt, a 4-3 defeat in the FA Cup, journey over for another year, but a thrilling game if nothing else, and you fell just short in making what would have been an extraordinary comeback.
Yeah, I think we were disappointed. I think despite the fact that the 4 goals conceded were very poor goals on our account, we definitely felt that Cornard were gettable, and we had plenty of chances to take it to a replay or even win the game, but sadly left it a little bit too little too late, basically.
But were there some positives, do you think, from the game itself? Because obviously it was good to see Ryan Sharman on the score sheet as well, and obviously people like Francisco and obviously Dan Brown as well getting goals.
Yeah, the second goal for Lille was a scramble from a corner. I think it was a combination of him and Max York in there. It was a bit unsure who got the final touch. They will both try and claim it, no doubt. Yeah, Ryan obviously scored a good goal. Great build-up for that first goal for us as well. And Dan Brown coming off the bench, yeah, really good team move. Good headed finishing on the goal. And unlucky not to have one at the death again as well. I think Dan Brown had the last chance of the game in the end, but just put it wide.
We know the importance of competitions like the FA Cup. We know that Histon's got its name very much etched in history from many, many years ago, of course. So are you disappointed that the run's over for another year?
Yeah, very disappointed. I think when you look at the fixture, when we're at home, or got the draw at home to Cornard United, with the greatest respect to Cornard, I genuinely thought we should be deemed as favourites for that game and should be beating them. And unfortunately, I think after a very good start to the game, it was the middle part of the game that's ultimately cost us. The back end of the first half and the start of the second half was where all the damage was done. But yeah, lads are disappointed. I'm disappointed. But obviously, we now have to put that behind us and start trying to get some momentum going in the league when that all restarts over the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, because it'll be actually away, won't it, on the bank holiday, but another cup game coming up. And before we touch on that, though, let's talk about Guy Motley getting a red card in that game. I don't know what you saw of it or whether it was a fair decision or not.
It did look a little bit reckless from Guy. I think it's a bit disappointed. He's obviously just come onto the game. We're trying to chase it, and I think a touch got away from him, and then he's tried to put in a recovery challenge on that. I guess the only argument we kind of had is there was similar challenges that had happened on both sides earlier in the game, one of which didn't get a card, and the other one did get a yellow card. So I guess it made it a bit frustrated in that respect in terms of similar situations, but with different outcomes. But nonetheless, at that point, I think Guy will be disappointed. We were disappointed when we put him on, and we're trying to still chase down the game. And that made it a more level playing field again after they stupidly got themselves reduced to 10 as well.
So attention now turns, of course, to the League Cup. It's Blackstone's at home next Saturday. Again, we've talked about this before, about a home game as an opportunity to bounce back. Are you pleased you've got a home one and an opportunity to kind of get a victory? And obviously remember that Brightlingsea was a great example of what the team can do if they're on their game.
Yeah, I think at the moment for a lot of clubs out there, the fact the season starts so early now as well, a lot of the pitches are really struggling, and we're very lucky with our one at Histon that it is a fantastic surface down there. The groundsman, Mark, does a great job. So I think any opportunity to be playing at home whilst we're still going through the weather that we're going through at the moment is a brilliant one for us. And then even, like you say, get past Blackstones on the Saturday, going over to Yaxley on Mondays on the 3G. So we've got no excuses. There'll be two really good surfaces to play on Saturday and Monday. It's just now putting it together on the pitch and following instructions that we're asking the lads to follow at the moment.
Speaking of players, just finally as well, we've talked about the amount of change in terms of the number of players coming and going over the summer. Do you think there'll be any further additions before the next game?
There's a couple we're still looking at the moment. Hopefully we're going to get a view of them either at training this week or possibly for the following week, depending on availability. We were unlucky to have a couple missing from the side, and then Errol got injured very early in the game on Saturday as well. We're hoping that's nothing too serious and he might be able to feature in one of the games over the bank holiday weekend. But when you're this early into the season, you want to look after everyone as much as you possibly can, and 2 games in 3 days is a bit of an ask as well. So this is where the squad has to come into play now, and thankfully I think we're definitely happy with what we've got in terms of quantity of the numbers. It's just making sure we feel the quality is in there across all areas of that squad at the moment.
Well, Matt, thank you very much indeed for your time as always. Sorry you didn't get the result you wanted yesterday, but we'll speak again soon.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Daniel Baker and Matt Payne. We're running low on time. Tim, you did go across and speak to Ethan Scott. London Bees defeated Cambridge United women at Grange Road on the first day there.
The opening home game at Grange Road against London Bees doesn't go your way. You must be quite disappointed with that.
Disappointed with the result, not necessarily the performance. I thought we were the better side for definitely the second half and parts of the first half. But again, like I said to the group after, it's the finest of margins.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had a good start to the game. Hope Strauss had one stopped on the line, and then really, I think you were the dominant side in probably the first half and most of the second half. They came back at you at the end, obviously, after the goal.
Yeah, we had chances. We had chances at 0-0. We had chances at 1-0 down as well. The goalie for them has pulled off a fantastic stop. It's one of them you turn around to the bench and go, how would she save that? It hurts right now. But I think when I watch it back, I feel a little bit easier, but still don't want to be losing that sort of game.
You started with the same lineup as you had last week, and again a confident passing game from that team, moving the ball around the pitch, making chances. And I say it was just a bit unlucky that the save at the end was obviously world class, and other things could have gone your way. So it's one of those games, as you say, fine margins.
Yeah, we moved the ball really well. You look, that team that won last week at Billericay more than deserved the opportunity to start this game, and that was a no-brainer for me in the week. We could have done a little bit better to move the ball into the space beyond in the first half, but we looked confident to play. And I said to the group that I want you to go and do that, and they were. And as credit to them, they were trying to do the right things, and really good in large parts. But set pieces.
And it's onwards and upwards. Obviously, another home game next week against Dulwich. Looking to recover, looking to give the home fans, a win at home.
Yeah, look, I said to the group there at the end, you have to sit with that disappointment. You have to sit with it. You have to feel it, and ultimately, it has to drive you next week. When I said to him at the end, I was like, we've got to come back here next week and win, and just win. And that might feel really obtuse, but let's do that again. But we'll put the ball in the back of net 3, 4, 5 times.
Cheers, thanks so much.
Cheers.
That's Times beat us tonight. Thanks very much for listening.